Well, good morning, folks. How you been? I know it's been a while. I apologize. I was sick for about 2 weeks, dealing with whatever plague is going around out there. And then, if you've been paying attention to the weather lately, we here in Central Ohio got pounded with about a foot of snow, which is still currently in my yard and all over the place, and followed very quickly with an Arctic freeze. It's currently balmy 0 here in Central Ohio, and it's kind of taken a little bit of the wind out of my sails with a bunch of other things that have been going on. But I wanted to jump back on here and say hello to all you good people who want to do good things. And I want to bring up a couple of topics today that have been kind of core to this whole Good Things for Good People channel. I'm trying to figure out my lighting here because the sun is right there and quite bright. Maybe that's better. That way I can just at least be in shadow. The reason I started this whole Good Things for Good People channel is there's a lot of negativity in the world already. There's a lot of crappy people saying crappy things, encouraging crappy things to happen. It's not a great time right now. Social-wise, we are in a bad spot. At least in the United States. I can't speak for anywhere else, but we are just not in a great spot right now. And that's been something that's been happening for probably 2 decades now. At least in my own personal opinion, it's probably been happening for about 2 decades. And I want to try to do something to make at least a little bit of a difference. Maybe just inject a little bit of positivity and uplift into all of the maelstrom of negativity that we are all surrounded with. And a lot of it, to me, goes to some breakdowns of some pretty core social situations that we used to hold pretty consistent to. Socially, we used to have social circles that we went out and did stuff with. Religiously, we used to attend religious services, whether it's church or synagogue or temple or dancing around a fire and whatever it was. Church attendance is down. Religiosity in the United States is down. Even among self-reported people, which, let's be honest, a lot of people who self-report that they attend church may attend twice a year. But that kind of gave a lot of people a moral anchor, I guess, a social anchor, where they had to get up and they had to get dressed and they had to look decent and they had to go to services and they had to hang out and talk with other people of hopefully like-minded faith or like-minded situations, and they socialized, they exchanged information, they exchanged conversation, and it kind of gave us a real good base to start with. Akin to that are the social clubs that also used to be something that was a kind of a core piece of the United States, a core piece of who we are and what we did. I opened this conversation up a couple of days ago about do I know anyone that's in the Shriners or lodges or Masons or those kinds of groups, those kind of organizations. And I did know a few, mostly older men, over the age of 50. I guess I'm considered older now, but over the age of 50 was typically speaking the age that I was seeing. And the ones that were under it were only a couple. But by and large, the only thing that they were involved with inside those organizations was going for cheap drinks. It wasn't for any of the philanthropic stuff that surrounds those organizations or that some of that stuff is legitimately built off of. It wasn't for any of that. It was just a place to go get cheap drinks. And I think that's a pretty stark picture of where we are right now and the reality of what's going on. Social clubs have largely disappeared, at least in my visible surroundings and the people around me in their reporting. It's not really much of a thing anymore. Lodge memberships are down, Masonic groups are down, Shriner people are down. Philanthropic stuff is down. Giving is down. It's just something that people just are not interested in. And I understand why a lot of that is, because one, giving is hard to do when you don't have anything, or you don't have as much as you would like to have, which would make you comfortable, and you and yours. Also, it's hard to trust people anymore. Organizations that once maybe had a gold star, as far as, yeah, I will give to these people or those people, maybe have tarnished that reputation as people have seen how much is wasted or doesn't actually go to making any kind of a positive effort in the world. I'm not going to call out any particular organization so I don't get sued, but it's not hard to find plenty of charitable organizations where a very small amount of donations actually end up becoming useful for whatever their cause is. It's a very common problem in the charitable space. And that's, again, one of the reasons that I started this page, was I wanted to be able to be, start something new, start something that's different. But another thing that goes hand in hand with all of that, in my personal view, is the rise of social media and the fact that we no longer have to really be around each other to engage with each other. And I say that because people going out and seeing each other, even if it's in a sporting event or a bar or whatever, actually physically seeing each other, you typically tend to present a little bit better. You tend to talk a little bit better. You tend to be a little bit better. Whereas on social media, you don't have to put pants on. And you can argue with somebody from all the way across the country as vehemently as you want to argue with them. You could say the most terrible things without fear of reprisal. You can let your innermost demons or devils, bad side, whatever you want to call it, out without any kind of a fear of any kind of blowback, other than maybe somebody else making some kind of a comment back to you. And it encourages bad behavior. I don't know if I want to use the word encourages. It doesn't discourage bad behavior. It makes the bad behavior so much more acceptable. And also, when you make those kind of comments, unfortunately, undoubtedly, especially if you're in the creator space and you have maybe any bit of a reach, you're going to find other like-minded people who are going to share those same, pardon my French, shitty beliefs, who are going to uplift you and praise you for saying something that's whatever it is. And so it's not only that we're not discouraging those kind of behaviors, but there's folks that are going to uplift that kind of stuff. Things that we would never have said in public in the past, because we would have maybe gotten our nose broken, or our teeth punched in, or we would have at least been ostracized by the community around us for saying things that we shouldn't say, that we all know, or at least knew, were bad. But we've lost a lot of that, as we've lost our face-to-face communications and our social connections. It's allowed us to kind of become some of the worst of ourselves. Let the bad sides out that we normally would either fight or hide. And not only that, it's being encouraged. And that saddens me. I realize I'm doing this on a social media thing, and I understand that I'm somewhat of an influencer. So I'm spreading my message in the same way, hoping that maybe it gets out there and maybe counter to all of the crap that's flying around, maybe pushes back a little bit on that kind of stuff. And that's really the message here with Good Things for Good People. That's really what I'm trying to do, is I'm trying to utilize the same tools that we have used to tear down our society and to get us to this bad point in life, to maybe help fight against that. Use those same tools to maybe uplift and improve. I have a bunch of things that I want to talk to you guys about over the next couple of days in the social circle conversation about the whole lodge thing and the Masonic and the temples and the social constructs that we have. And I want to know from you guys, you folks, if males and females, what do you belong to, if anything? what's the membership been in your group, and what's the general age that you see involved in that? Because I would love to be able to try to develop something that encourages something like that to grow, and also includes younger generations, because I have seen almost every younger person under the age of 30 struggling to find a social circle, much less a social circle that has any kind of a positive mission in life. And I'd like to try to start figuring out some way to maybe counter that, maybe develop something. I don't know. I'm not sure how to do that. I'm still working it around in my head. This is a very stream of consciousness. These videos are not scripted. This is not edited. This is just, let's rock and roll. Here we go. I want to be as truthful with you guys and honest as I possibly can be. So let me know what you guys think. I'm genuinely curious about this. I want to know, do you belong to anything? How often do you go? What's the general population of people when you're in those locations? Is it just for the cheap drinks? I want to know. Let me hear what you thought, what you got out there. I'm on the mission still. I promise you, I am not getting off of this. I still greatly want to make this thing happen, and I appreciate everybody who has followed me so far and who's encouraged me on this mission. And I promise you, I will not give up. I will continue to fight the good fight, and I guess try to be a good example for people. So thank you for being here, guys. I will see you later. Stay warm. Stay safe. Bye-bye.